Are you looking to dip your toes in the water with a new electric vehicle? Actually, that sounds deadly. I don't know if we should do that. Hey, I'm Omar with Patterson Autos. Welcome back to the channel. Are you tired of Southern California's rising gas prices, yet you think that EVs are so expensive? Well, today I've got two great options for you, because maybe you're on a budget. Perhaps you're paying for college, perhaps you're paying for your kids' college, well, maybe you're just cheap. You just said it, you don't want to pay for gas. So today we're going over the 2024 Kia Niro EV and Hyundai Kona Electric. Let's go. While we're outside, let's go over styling. These two cars are cousins, as you can probably tell, but their differences are vast, which set them apart and really speak to their individual brand's design languages. Starting with the Kona Electric, this is a very futuristic design, and your taillight clusters are actually out here in the corners, but the first thing that stands out to you is this continuous strip, which matches the seamless horizon headlight. Now this year they've added pixels all across the back, which matches that motif that they started with in the Ioniq 5 and 6, and you'll see more of them down here in the bumper. These here in the center are just painted plastic for styling, but the ones out here are your reflectors, and they tie in really well. Now with the Niro EV, you've got a lot more classic styling, but it is undoubtedly Kia. You can always tell by these hard lines. I think that there's like a signature angle there. I'm gonna bring a protractor next time. The taillights are not as future-facing, but I really like them. They're these big, bold boomerangs that kind of remind me of an Escalade or something along those lines. Looking at the sides, the Kona is definitely the more bold one of the two, with these hard lines that started with the Elantra, the satin belt line that continues all the way to the rear spoiler, and these body-matched fenders which add a lot more character. With the Niro, you've got a lot more of a low-profile design, but this piano black trim really makes it pop. I love that you can still see this big boomerang along the side, and I really like this quirky little turn signal indicator. The wheel design on both is pretty fun, and due to their aerodynamic nature, they're going to be a lot easier to clean. They look great in motion. Looking at their faces, both are fun, and starting with the Niro, this has a pretty interesting design. You have a faux grille up top and in the middle with this bumpy situation going on, which I really like. I like the way that it plays with light, and the satin belt line matches Hyundai's seamless horizon, which actually lights up in that case. Now, the charging port's on the front on both of these cars, which is nice and convenient. You don't have to worry about which side it's on. You just pull right into your station and plug it in. Headlights on the Niro will sit a little bit higher than they do on the Kona, and they definitely have a little bit of attitude. Now the Kona's face, I gotta say I really prefer. It's a much cleaner, more futuristic design. Here's those pixels that they added into the seamless horizon. And the headlights, like I said, sit a little bit lower than they do on the Niro, but they're almost tucked in where you can't really see them. And here's more of those pixels down here in the bottom grille. Now let's look at storage, starting with the front. In the Kona, you get a little bit more space than you got in previous years. It's not a massive improvement, but it is welcome. You could actually fit your whole charger in here, and take a look at this. There's little hooks for a tiny cargo net. How cute. And in the Niro, more of the same, which should be no surprise. Again, these cars are cousins. I will say, there's a little bit less space here, but here's that cargo net in use. I don't know what you could put down there. Maybe a loaf of bread or something. Now let's look at trunk space. Trunk space is pretty similar, but there are some differences, starting with the height. First, if you're loading things into the Kia Niro, you don't have to go quite as low, but the Kona does have a lot more comfort when it comes to the tailgate test, so you can sit right down in it, and the floor is flush with this ledge. In the Niro, your knees are going to be sitting up a little bit taller. However, you've got the pro of another storage cubby on the side in the Niro, where you only have one in the Kona, and under this floor, there's a lot more storage space. In the Kona, you can fit your tire mobility kit, a spare tire if you choose to buy one, and it might not look like a big difference, but the Niro does add more depth. I was able to fit my other ride down here. Now, truth be told, this block right here, which holds your mobility kit, is bolted down, and so I had to move it out of the way, but there is a considerable amount more space under the floor. For compact SUVs, the backseat on both is plenty spacious so you can carry all of your friends. The floor is flat so you can get creative with what you want to store back here, and this fold-down center armrest makes things a little bit more comfortable in addition to the air vents in the back and the USB-C ports for the rear. There's two of them, and in the case of the Kona, they're right here in this little center cubby. In the case of the Niro, they are back here, mounted right on the seat, where they're going to be a little bit closer. And I gotta say, the Niro takes the win for me because of this big notch where you can hang a jacket or hang on to it if you've got a maniac for a driver. And I think the backseat's a little more comfortable. Now let's go where the magic happens, the driver's seat, starting with the Kona. The first thing that I want to mention is that even though this car's been off for a little while and we're under the hot California sun, this was not a very hot cabin to get into. I'm looking at you, Tesla. Getting into the meat and potatoes, you're welcomed by this dual display panel that you've seen in many of our other Hyundai reviews. I really like it. I think it gives it a more futuristic feel and it keeps it clean. But I appreciate that the hard buttons are still here for your air conditioning or some media controls, so you don't have to reach through menus for everything. Right behind your steering wheel, you've got paddle shifters to adjust your brake regen level, and your gear selector is mounted right on the steering column, which you may or may not prefer. Here in the center console, we've got dual zone climate control with temperature adjusters that rock up and down. I'm looking at you, Mazda. And right below that, you've got plenty of charging options with 2 USB-C ports, Qi wireless charging, and this little port for an accessory socket. Behind that is your drive mode selector, where you can switch between Eco, Normal, Sport, and a Snow mode for those cold climates. Behind that, you've got some versatile storage with these snap action cup holders, which you'll also see in the Niro. Behind it, you've got this open space to store whatever you want to, and this little tray doesn't fit too much. You actually couldn't fit sunglasses in there without crushing them, so maybe just a PB&J. Besides your door card storage all around and an obvious glove box, you've got this little shelf for your passenger to put their phone or a camera when you guys are on your road trip. Now, Niro time. In the Niro, you get the same dual display panel here. It's a little bit offset due to its angular design, but there's something sportier and cooler that I really like about it. Feature-wise, you're looking at very much the same stuff, it's just laid out a little bit differently. So your Qi wireless charger is all the way at the front, under your 2 USB ports. One of them is USB-A and one of them is USB-C, which I really like because you don't have to get rid of your old cables. Now for storage, there's a little bit less than you saw in the Kona. You don't have that shelf sitting above the glove box, and in this case, due to the transmission dial being right in the center, you don't get as much of that open space. But it's still pretty versatile. Here's those hot action cup holders, and back here, it's not as open as it is on the Kona, but this is removable, so you could open it up for your cat if they like to sit there. Overall, it doesn't feel as spacious as the Kona, definitely a cozier feel without getting claustrophobic. It's windy, which reminds me, I gotta tell you, this is the Kia Niro EV Wind, which is the entry level, and I wanted to get you something comparable, so I brought out the Kona Electric Limited, both of which are gonna be right in the low 40s. Now, the Kona does have some more basic offerings, which would be right in the mid 30s, so if price is your driving point, then maybe start looking at the Kona first. For me, I really like the cozier feel and the styling of the Niro, so that's the one that I'm gonna roll out in. But I'm gonna take both of these for a spin, and in the next video, you can check that out. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tell me what you think in the comments. I'll catch you in the test drive.